Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy fall, happy Saturday. I am Queen Aishah, your host of I Know Dope People. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a great topic today. The topic for today is called Thyroid Health. So I'm going to share my story. In 2017, I was living in Los Angeles, California, and I started experiencing nausea and vomiting when I ate certain foods like eggs, dairy products, and shrimp. So I called my doctor and I said, I think I'm allergic to eggs, dairy, and shrimp because I get nauseous or I vomit, and I think I should have an allergy test. I've been eating all these things all my life, never had an issue. So the doctor did just that, an allergy test. And she called back and she said, she's a Russian woman. She was so sweet. And she said, Aishah, she said, you're allergic to shrimp and German cockroaches. I was offended. Okay. I want to know who had roaches. Okay. Shrimp. I was like, maybe the shrimp on the West Coast different than the East Coast. I didn't understand. So I was like, roaches. So I had told my mom about it and she was concerned. Her biggest concern was she wanted to know, she didn't understand why now. Why was I allergic to roaches now? And I grew up with them. I was like, Geraldine, that's not the point. I ain't lived with them in a long time. But I started questioning, like, who I've been around, where I've been, that there are roaches, and this is making me vomit. Anyway, fast forward to 2019. I'm living in Atlanta, Georgia, and I go for an annual checkup. And the doctor that I was going to, I researched her. And I was like, she's from DC. She might be my vibe and be able to give me some extra stuff or whatever I need for whatever. Not thinking I'm just a regular appointment. So I went to the appointment and she saw me and Dr. Koto said, I know you. And I'm like, I know you. I was like, her face looks familiar, but DC, we know people, Come to find out she went to Nation House, Watoto with my nephew, and she is now an awesome doctor. We were visiting and she was checking me, and doctors, they're talking to you, but they're also asking you certain questions and checking you. I wasn't aware that she was checking me. So she was checking me and she said to me, she said, Aishah, have you ever been checked for your thyroid? I was like, no. She said, well, let's get you checked. She said, because your neck seems to be a little swollen unless that's how your neck is. And I was like, okay, but I didn't think nothing about it. Made my appointment, had an ultrasound done. And during the ultrasound, the tech, she was checking my neck, scanning the left and right side of my neck, but she kept scanning the right side. And then she kept asking me if I was okay. I was like, that ain't normal. She wouldn't be asking me if everything was okay. So I was like, I was fine because I was fine. So I got the results back and I met with the endocrinologist and he started asking me questions. Are you having heart palpitations? Are you having tremors? None of those things. Now, weight loss is a huge thing with Graves' disease. I just thought when I was living in California, I had stopped eating chicken and just different things. So I just thought naturally the weight was coming off. It was hot. I'm thinking, I'm good. This has nothing to do with anything, So he asked me about my eyes bulging. And I was like, he said right in his chair, he half looked at me. He was like, well, have you noticed anything with your eyes? Because eyes bulging is another symptom. And I was like, no. And I'm saying to myself, well, why he ain't got up? I said, sir, well, you're going to need to check my eyes. I said, because I'm too cute and fine for this. So if my eyes going to be affected, we're going to need to get on this right now. Anyway, went to the doctor, had an appointment. They put me on methimazole. I'm not a medication type person. I'm not knocking anyone that has to take medicines. They put me on methimazole and I just felt like I was I was in prison. That this was something that I was going to have to live with for the rest of my life. And I wouldn't accept that. I wasn't subscribing to it. And I was like, I'm not going to be on medication for the rest of my life. I'm not buying that. So about 6 weeks later, I happened to be in Sprouts in the health food store, and one of my cousins that looked like me, we colorful. She said, girl, it's this white woman that I asked. I said, do y'all have anything for thyroid? And I said, I've been diagnosed with Graves' disease. And she said, it's a white woman that comes in here every 30 days, and she weaned herself off of the medication they were giving her by taking this medicine. I automatically stopped taking the methylhemazole, started taking the thyroid medicine, and I'm not a doctor, so I'm just saying this is how I go. I'm rebellish. So I started taking that medication. Within 3 months, they started saying that my levels were changing, and to start taking half of the medicine. I wasn't taking the medicine. I was taking the thyroid supplement. And then I started, it started coming down. I continued to take the medicine. And then last August, I went to a new endocrinologist, and I can't remember her name, but when I tell you she is awesome, awesome, awesome. She's with the North Georgia Diagnostics Center. She was amazing. I still have the diagram of how she drew out the thyroid and what it does and all. She said, come off everything, because she couldn't believe that I had Graves' disease. She said, come off of everything. Let us see. So in 6 months, was February of this year, she checked me and she said, Aishah, she was like, your levels are normal. She was like, you have, she said, you have signs of Hashimoto's, but with Dr. Lisa is here. She's going to get into the hyper and the hypo and all those things. But my levels are normal. I no longer have it. I don't take any medication, any supplements for the thyroid. So we are going to welcome to the I Know Dope People show today, Lisa Lewis. She is a family friend for maybe about 20 years.
Yes,
ma'am. Oh my gosh, when she was doing pharmaceutical, okay? Lisa, let me explain. She is the first Lisa I know. She started off doing pharmaceutical. She has so many, just her own story. She can share her own story with us. She's a naturopath. She is a holistic healer. She has a holistic center in the West Orange, New Jersey area. She has infrared treatment. I went to the spa last night and I said, I need to go get me some infrared. Yeah. She reminded me. So it's so many things that we can do to detoxify our body, to heal our bodies with on our own or with health. And I think with help, I think that a natural way of doing things, Eastern medicine way of doing things, is the best way. However, I'm not a doctor. That's just my way of doing things. Please welcome to our show, I Know Dope People, Dr. Lisa Lewis. Thank you.
Hello. I'm so excited.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us and saying yes.
Yeah.
I created this show. I wanted to have a platform to just all the people that I know, because I know so many people, whether they are in the public's eye or not.
Yes.
And I wanted to tap into that community to bring to my audience what I know, my village of people, so they can get what they need and you all can get what y'all need, and we can all grow and blossom and be dope together.
That's it. That's
so
it.
Dr. Lewis, please share with us who you are, what you do, and how you got started.
Such a long journey. So I just want to thank you, first of all, Aishah, because listen, we all transition, we change, we blossom, we evolve as life goes on. And it's such an amazing experience when you have people in your life from like younger and you like grow, you like growing in the same direction. You know what I'm saying? So thank you so much for this opportunity, because I love to talk about holistic medicine, especially to people who are on that cusp, like they're not quite sure of the power of it, right? And or they might even be a little bit afraid. You know what I'm saying? Because, our community has been told, oh, that's devil stuff, or the deal, right? That stuff don't work, that kind of thing. So just to give you a quick and tell everyone a quick like synopsis of my journey. Like, you met me, I was in the pharmaceutical industry, right? But from like the age of 5, I knew I was going to be a doctor, right? So I had claimed that. I had claimed going to medical school, but I got to the door of medical school and was like, um, right. My intuition said, don't do it. Don't do it. And that's when I actually went into the pharmaceutical industry, because I had been trained as a scientist, undergrad, pre-med, Rutgers, and all the schools that I have gone to, because I've gone to a gazillion, all trained us to go into the Western medicine world. No one was talking about holistic medicine, natural medicine, any Eastern medicine, nothing, right? So I was like, well, if I worked on my life to get into medical school and I got the download not to go, what am I going to do? Yeah. So I said, well, I got a job waiting for me, because there was always a job waiting in the pharmaceutical industry back then, right? Okay. Job waiting for me. Let me go do this. And then I got a chance to see firsthand how devastating drugs were to people, right? Like, it was my opportunity to see the medical industry firsthand before I had jumped in, right? It was an opportunity for me to interact with doctors on a regular basis, to recognize that half of them were very unhappy with what they were doing.
Shady.
Yeah, because that's when managed care had just come in and started telling the doctors what they could and could not do, right? So it was a real journey for me, and my own health started to wane when I was in the pharmaceutical industry, because I was in sales, and you know how you got to hit those quotas, and it was just stress on top of stress. So I felt like there was always something off, especially hormonally. Like I'm gonna get real with people. So if y'all squeamish,
get real, Dr. Lewis.
Right? I was having exceptionally heavy menses. I was anemic. Like, I just, I was losing like 3 days or 4 days a month just from my cycle, right?
Yes.
Like, and
you had to plan and schedule it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, horrible.
You know what I'm saying? They say you got one good week a month. Yes, that's what they used to say. Like, on the way into the cycle, on the way out of the cycle, and it was just horrible. And the only option was birth control pills, and birth control pills, right? Like, and I don't like meds. I think my body doesn't like meds, like, because every time I take it, I'm the one that has a million side effects, right? So so it was a journey. It was a personal journey, my own healing journey, looking for what was going to work for me, and as well looking for a way to help my friends and family members. And I found natural medicine during that span, like while I was working in the pharmaceutical industry, and I was like, this is what I was supposed to practice. Got it. This is why I didn't go in that direction. Got it. Now, how am I going to traverse this journey? Because there was no one in my life that would turn into herbs. I mean, like, I had a Vitamix in 1991.
Oh, right? Wow. Let me find out. That's rich, honey. Yeah. Wow. And it just became popular like a few years ago, right?
Yeah. Wow. It was styrofoam with the little spigot and the little wood. It was crazy.
You were ahead of yourself. Ahead of times.
But when you get the download, right? When you get the information that says go in this direction, and you don't listen,
right?
It makes your life a lot harder, right? Yeah. So I've just been that person who's never really, I dance to the beat of my own drum. I never really pay attention to status quo. Yeah, I never really, I feel like the leader of my own leader. I wasn't trying to tell everybody else what to do, but I definitely had the feeling that I knew when I was young that I was not like, you're not like everybody else. You're a little,
I get it. Yes. That's why I said
you're strange. You know what I mean?
I said I'm kind of rebel-ish.
Yes.
So we thank you so much for joining us. And I actually, the way we got reconnected, it was through social media. And I saw you posting about dis-ease and healing ourselves from all of these things. And I was like, that's Lisa. And I'm telling you, I was like, so of course, this is why I know I'm supposed to be doing this. The title came to me like nothing. And then when I tell you I'm already ahead of schedule, whatever that means, with guests, because it just comes to me, this topic, and the guests come. It just comes to me, get this, and these are people I know. Now, there are awesome people that I admire that I don't know personally, but I bet you I know somebody that knows.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. So the topic today is thyroid health. Yes. And we're going to discuss thyroid health, as I talked about being diagnosed with thyroid issues, Graves' disease. I was like, God, I didn't even go to Graves of the thyroid health. I went straight to Graves' disease. I just jumped all the way in and skipped all the classes and went to the top. So that was just devastating in itself. So we're going to start off. I want to ask some questions. What is autoimmune disease? Because Graves' disease, thyroid falls under autoimmune disease.
Okay. So when we think about autoimmune, and we'll talk about like all the different types of thyroid challenge, or most of the common ones. Okay. When we're thinking about autoimmune disease, what in essence, whether it's thyroid or any other kind of autoimmune disease, it's when your internal, your immune system that's designed to protect you, right? The immune system that's designed to get rid of any pathogen that shows up in your body decides that it's going to attack your healthy tissue. Okay. It's going to recognize your healthy tissue as a pathogen, attack it, and destroy the tissue, right? Okay. That gland, that organ, and all of that, right? And so one of the biggest challenges is that it can be very, very silent. It can be very silent. Like most people can have an autoimmune disease brewing in them for decades, right? Because the trajectory of autoimmunity can be, it can start with just general inflammation, like inflammation in the body that doesn't have a home, right? It might be one place, it might be another, right? And or then it moves to, I have an inflammatory process happening in my body, but now it's symptomatic. Now it's showing up somewhere or several places, and I can actually feel or see or understand what that is, right? It's starting to nag me, but it's probably not nagging you so much so that you're like, okay, I got to go to my doctor, or I need medication, so forth and so on. And then the next stage is when that inflammation becomes systemic, where you're starting to feel it in multiple places in your body, and it's become chronic. So it's been long term now, right? So we have inflammation that's not symptomatic. Then we have inflammation that's symptomatic. Then we have inflammation that's systemic, where it's going all over the body. And at that point, it usually crosses over, if it's not treated effectively, to autoimmune, right? So there's a lot of clues that we can get throughout our lifetime to recognize that autoimmunity is brewing, right? Wow. Or it could be a trigger that showed up that's so intense that it pushed you right into it, right?
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, because when I spoke with the endocrinologist, I'd asked her, because at that time, in 2017, I was transitioning out of my marriage. So I asked her, because I said to my sister Razia, I was like, I'm just starting to feel like myself. This is like towards the end of last year. Yeah. I said, I'm starting to feel, because I'm the type of person, anybody that knows me, like I'm sending birthday cards, Christmas cards, I'm just thinking of you, like all of this stuff has stopped and I didn't even realize it. Yeah. And I asked her, she said that the the transition from the marriage would not cause it, but it would trigger because of the stress.
Right.
Let me tell you something. I
Girl.
had to step outside of myself because
Mm-hmm.
I was enraged. I was angry. All of this stuff that wasn't me. And I was like, Aishah, this isn't you.
Right.
So I actually started, I was like, I need to go to therapy because something going on. I said, all of this happening from a transition from a marriage, this isn't me. I was just, because I'm normally a happy, cool person. But I am telling you that thyroid is a tricky thing. It is the thermometer of the body. It controls everything.
It's in there is a thyroid receptor on every cell of the body. That's how important it is. It's like the thermocouple out into the world, right? So if it's too cold, the thyroid is going to adjust your, thermogenic potential, right? If it just controls so many things, and we just ignore it because it's just normally doing its thing, right? It's normally doing what it's supposed to do, right? Which is adjust how well we burn fat, like our blood sugar. I mean, there's so many things that it manages or controls, or at least has a piece. There's a little small piece of it that is supporting all these other systems. And that's the beauty of holistic medicine, is that we know that just because it's affecting something over here or over here, it's going to affect the entire body. Because as a matter of fact, it's going to affect your entire person, because we are not physical, we're spirit wrapped in flesh, right? So we are mind, body, spirit. And any disease that shows up has a physical, mental, emotional, and a spiritual manifestation, right?
You better say it, Dr. Lewis. You better preach this morning. That's right.
So whenever something shows up physically, if we could take stock of what's happening around us, in us, to us, then we can help get rid of the disease so much faster, right? And so I believe that one of the challenges with the current Western model is that it has become so reductionistic. We're only ready to like, oh, you got this problem, it's in this organ system, we're just going to look at that one thing, and we're not going to look at how it affects you as a whole. And that's one of the challenges why people are suffering so much now, because you could have a symptom in one particular organ, just like thyroid, and we'll go through that in a second. You can have one symptom somewhere else, but the cause is like in a completely different system in the body. So now you're just being treated for that one little thing, going down that one little path. And that's why you're not feeling any better, because the issue may be in your gut, or the issue may be your stress, or the issue may be your blood sugar or low-grade infections. And you don't know, because all you're being is given medication that's adjusting that one little piece of the puzzle, right? So,
and with me, I wasn't a believer when they said, because they didn't say you have thyroid, they just said you have Graves' disease. I was like, how are they just going to jump right to Graves' disease? They're the medical professionals, they know. But what was so interesting, I didn't have the heart palpitations, which is a huge concern. I didn't have the tremors, which is a huge concern. I had at the time, but I didn't realize it till I put it all together later, the weight loss. Like my hair started thinning over in here, but I thought it's because I had been coloring my hair for so long, and I have so much hair, I just thought that's what it was. So when everybody was saying, "Oh, Queen, you look good. You lost all that weight," I was like, "Heifer." I was sick. Like, I go back, and that's something. So we think healthy is weight loss. I was sick. Like when I go back and look at my pictures, I'm telling you, y'all, I want to cry, because I look at I'm like, oh, she didn't know. When I tell you, my brain, I couldn't even.
Brain fog, girl.
It's horrible. I watched Missy Elliott in 2019 at the MTV Music Awards. I heard that she had been diagnosed with Graves' disease.
And you see how fast her weight loss was?
Exactly. And we didn't know. We just thought Missy, because she started losing weight, it seems a little after Leah passed. So I thought it was that. When she came up in 2019, and she talked about how sick she was. And she said, I couldn't even lift the pen to write. And I said, people, when I tell you it takes over everything.
Yes, it does.
I could just, it's hard to explain. You can't write, you think, your thought process, and it's just so much happening at one time, because Graves' disease is hyper.
Right.
So
So
everything's back.
it's when the thyroid is overactive, right? So it's turning up the volume on everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think you're going crazy, right? You
Mm-hmm.
think like, well, and or because we are so obsessed with weight and appearance and all these other things that that's when we decide, oh well, maybe something might be wrong, or hey, I've had a weight issue all my life, now I'm losing weight. Oh, this is good
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
society will accept me now because I'm thinner, right? But then you're going through all of these mental emotional issues, and I'm telling you, a lot of times if you don't have a good doctor, you'll end up thinking that all your issue is in your mind, because there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, this is what I talk about a lot online, is that most people don't get diagnosed because their numbers fall within the normal ranges, right? So imagine going to your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You had really good doctors who knew what they were doing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
imagine going to a doctor and you were feeling bad, but your numbers, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
body hadn't quite pushed you out of the reference ranges, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then you go to the doctor and they're like, "Oh, everything is good. Your thyroid, your TSH is good, your T4, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have any, your antibodies aren't that high, right? Aren't that high, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so it can't be thyroid. So now you think you're crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, my brain is, I can't remember nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
snapping on people because I
Yep.
mean, you really become someone else. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
even recognize yourself. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's an internal recognition as well as the
Mm-hmm.
external recognition.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
And it's a significant disease in the African American community. I mean, it's like probably 27 million people in
Mm-hmm.
general have a thyroid issue and are never diagnosed. So they just
Mm-hmm.
doing everything else, trying to figure out what it is,
Right.
and they don't get the support.
And it's seeing the inflammation you spoke about that. I would like you to elaborate on that more because inflammation, let me explain that right there is the culprit for real because we get it in our foods from so many things. Like I started changing the way that I eat the things that I ate. I stopped eating chicken back in California. So I just thought the weight loss and the sun was because of the sun, and I stopped eating chicken and I ain't had that much hormones. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, that's what I thought it was. But it's this inflammation is in so many things. Please elaborate
Sure.
on that.
Sure. So inflammation is kind of like a catch-all phrase for the itises, right? Not the
Mm.
itis when you eat and fall asleep, not that
Oh
itis,
wow.
but the other itis, right? um, the itis is like when there is some kind of um, metabolic process that's creating heat and causing your immune system to overreact in a particular place in your body. So like I said,
Mm-hmm.
it could be like on your hands, your feet, like any place usually where you're going to have pain is
Mm-hmm.
is a space of inflammation. But your
Mm-hmm.
organ systems can be inflamed as well,
Mm,
right?
wow.
So that, and then, or I mean, inflammation floating through your blood, going from one place to another, that's systemic, right? So if we are eating foods and experiencing things in life that are promoting inflammation, then it's going to cause inflammation and disease. Now I would just wanted to touch on inflammation really quick as it relates to stress, because this is a big, 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 big issue, right? Most people have normalized stress. No, most
Mm-hmm.
people are like, oh yeah, I got a stressful life, but I can handle it. Like I'm handling my stress. It doesn't really bother me. I know I have a lifestyle that's challenging, but it's not really causing any problems, right? So cortisol is the primary hormone that helps us manage stress, right? So cortisol in itself is the strongest anti-inflammatory known to man. So if you've ever known anybody that's on prednisone, the drug prednisone was designed to act similar to cortisol, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so imagine you being, i.e., right, the divorce and moving, uh, financial challenges, studying, too hard, job stress, family stress, all those things, right, coming on you, either shifting your cortisol too high, which means then you're in a state of fight or flight, right? We
Mhm.
all know about the adrenaline, but most people don't think about cortisol. They don't know about cortisol. So if cortisol is too high or too low, it's going to promote inflammation in the body. So
Mhm.
imagine all the stress that we have, and it's causing inflammation at like epic proportions for us.
Mm.
And so that's why lifestyle, that's
Mhm.
why another reason why food, environment, all of that,
Mhm.
that's why all those things are so important, because we have these things that are going to promote inflammation in the body, i.e. going to cause disease. And
Mhm.
that's why we are the ones have to be at the helm of our health. We got
Mhm.
to take control of it, because nobody's going to tell you, you know, that the mold growing in your home, right? Or dust, or the toxins that you're inhaling from some of the cleaning products you're using. So the
Mm.
makeup and the hair stuff we use is
Mm.
is
Wow.
putting toxins in our body, right? The water we're drinking,
Mm.
the pesticides in our food, the GMOs, the genetically modified, foods, are all causing inflammation. They're not
Mm.
telling us that wheat is a baby grain. It's a
Mm.
new grain, and our bodies don't know how to handle that. They don't, it
Mhm.
doesn't know how to handle it. So all
Mhm.
these foods and these things cause our bodies to attack it, to like say, this is
Wow.
foreign. This ain't supposed to be here. I'm gonna attack it, and then that causes inflammation, i.e., and all that kind of
You
good
better
stuff.
break it down, Dr. Lewis, here today. I hope y'all taking notes. And those of y'all that are watching the recording, okay, she got something for you. This is such powerful information. It's nothing, I'm telling you, there's nothing like having knowledge, because it's
Yes,
truly powerful and we can make better decisions. I
yes.
have a cousin, so the thyroid, like you said, it's in our community. So in
Mm-hmm.
my family, my grandmother, bless her heart, Grandma B, who lived to be 102, she actually had
Yes.
hypothyroidism. I didn't realize this until I think she was in her 90s. Because grandma,
Wow.
she ain't had no issues. She had
Right.
no issue. Her weight wasn't, it never was a thing. And I was like, wow. And she just took whatever the pill was or whatever that they
Right.
gave her. She took that.
Right. Right.
And I have cousins on that same side, females that are hyper, like me,
Mhm.
right? And then one of
Right.
them, she said when she would get pregnant, they would push her, they would give her medication to push her in the hypo because
Okay.
it was safer for her
Yes.
to be hypo during pregnancy. I have a cousin,
Crazy.
yes.
I don't even. Y'all know that it's like this. This just hurts my ears to hear that,
That's what she told me. I was like, wow, yes.
because because it ain't safer to be either. Okay, like there there is a natural way to not be either. To have a healthy thyroid, but again,
Okay.
because Western medicine only deals with drug therapy and or surgery
Mm-hmm.
as their primary tools, they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand the root causes that are associated with
Mm.
it. So they really don't have anything to address the causes. But no, it ain't safe. I just had to stop you. It ain't tell me.
Yes. No,
It
I
ain't
understand.
either one.
Exactly.
But that's what they tell us. Especially we don't have information. We don't have knowledge. They can kind of
Mm-hmm.
tell us. They say if you don't stand for something, you're gonna fall for anything.
That's right.
Like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's
Right.
happening in the industry right now. Yeah.
Right. And that's why I was like, I'm not going to take medicine because I just felt like if I take this, it's going to lead to something else and something I ain't a doctor, but I was like, I'm not doing that. Now I have
You know,
a male cousin. Go ahead.
but real quick, some
Mm-hmm.
people need meds. Like, I may be a naturopathic doctor, but
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are some people whose challenges are so
Yes.
intense and so
Mm-hmm.
right, that in the transition, like a lot of times if you're doing the work, you can transition off your meds, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But you have to work with somebody, make sure that happens. But
Right.
the key is understanding like the true power of either having to use both at the same time, right? We call
Mm-hmm.
integrative medicine, until you can
Mm-hmm.
wean yourself off,
Yes.
until your body
Absolutely.
can heal itself off the medication. So
That's
anyway,
right. Yes, yes, I believe some people need medication for different things. I
yes,
believe
yes.
that.
Yeah, a lot.
Now, I have a cousin who is a male on my mother's side, who my mom was one of your patients also.
Yes, yes,
Mama
yes,
Jerry,
yes.
yes.
She started early. As soon as I
Yes,
graduated.
my mom was always ahead. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. So, my cousin on my mother's side, a male,
Hmm.
he had thyroid for years, Graves' disease. The first time I
Yep.
ever heard of it was with him. So I just heard, I didn't think much about. I'm talking about this was years ago,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he said it took them years to diagnose him because they never checked the thyroid, because thyroid disease are mostly found in women.
Right.
So he said it ruined his marriage and everything. He said because he was going through it and his ex was like, he making stuff up. Remember he saying it? He said that it destroyed his marriage and he had to just like rebuild. He had so much going on. And I think he still deals with it. Like when I was diagnosed, I just started tapping into reading things, people that, and then I was like, that's right. He told. So I called and had a conversation with him. And also I was like, moving. I was like, I can't claim this. So can
Yeah.
you speak to the men having
Yeah.
thyroid and
So,
Graves' disease?
so even though any disease may have some kind of propensity for female versus male, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all, other than, because we all have the same hormones. A woman and a man both have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a difference of how much of each. And of course, the Y chromosome that makes the difference,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So many times, because most people don't recognize that thyroid isn't necessarily genetic, it might have a predisposition for women, but
Mm-hmm.
because the causes are environmental, digestive, blood sugar, stress, like because those are the root causes, anyone can have it. So that's why it's important for everyone to, no matter male or female, to get their TSH, T3, T4, all like a full hormone panel, which is like nine or so different biomarkers to test all of them, right? Because there's no way, like in my recollection and throughout doing this work, there's no way for me to say, oh, because you're a man or because you're a woman, you're more likely to get a disease. It's because you have this particular experience or you've been exposed to these particular things. That's why you would be. And it's not even as much genetic as it is environmental or lifestyle. Like most chronic disease, 90 to 95% of chronic
Mm-hmm.
is lifestyle and environment. Only 5 to 10% is genetic. And we always say because it runs in our family, or
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have a cause, then they're like, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
genetic. But no, it's because we eat the same foods, we live in the same areas, we think the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of the, we're exposed to the same toxins, right? That's what actually promotes disease. And that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
fallacies, woman versus man, right? It's really what is going on in your world externally and internally that's going to cause dis-ease in your
Mm-hmm.
world, right? and
Wow.
that and that's the key. And their doctor should have caught it anyway, because everyone at minimum should have a TSH done. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's part that should be part of the standard blood chemistry panel, that everyone
And
that
what
every
is TSH?
is thyroid stimulating hormone, right?
Okay.
It's produced by the pituitary gland, one of those glands inside the brain, in the center of the
Mm-hmm.
brain, right below
Mm-hmm.
the hypothalamus, right? And it controls all the release of a lot of different hormones. And so there's a feedback loop that goes
Mm-hmm.
from the thyroid to the brain that then says, do we need more of this hormone or do we need less of this hormone? And
Mm-hmm.
so Western medicine has become famous for only testing that TSH, as opposed to testing the hormone that's released from the thyroid, which is T4, the hormone that T4 converts to, which is T3,
Mm-hmm.
antibodies, like all of those. We have to do a full profile. So if you even think that you have a thyroid issue, or even if you don't, right? Just go to your doctor and say, I need a full thyroid hormone panel. They're going to say, okay. And they're just going to test your T3, T4, and TSH, right? But that's not a full. Ask them for a full, which includes anti-TPO and TBG or TG antibodies, because that's how your doctor found out that you had Graves, because they checked your antibodies, right? And so it's so misdiagnosed. It's crazy. Most people come to me and they go, well, I've been having this problem forever, and they keep saying my labs are normal, and that's the biggest issue
because they haven't done a full bot check.
They haven't done a full check. And TSH, like, not to get too technical, but TSH alone, the range, like what they call the standard therapeutic range, is like 0.45, which is 4.5 tenths of a point, all the way to 4.5. So from 0.45 to 4.5 is a normal range. Like, that's like saying we're gonna find a car driving on a highway from LA to New York. Right, that's how wide that range is, right?
Right. It's too vast.
Way too wide, right?
Yes.
The optimal range for TSH, the optimal range is 0.8 to 3. The good a decent range is 1.3 to 3, right? So if you're outside of 0.8 or 1.3 or 3, you're gonna feel symptoms, and that's the problem. You feel like you're going crazy, and you feel like your body's going crazy, but because you're not outside of those ranges, then your body, you know it's something wrong, but they're saying you're okay because they consider you normal.
Yeah. Okay, so we have questions in the chat. Sure. So Pastel Burke, she says, what do you do if your levels are normal and you are still experiencing symptoms?
Yeah, so great question. You either have to demand that they test those other symptoms, like those other biomarkers, right? Like the total T3, T4, and we'll put them. Is there a way for us to provide like some? I can give you guys some information. I have two. Is there a way to like put a link or something like that in the chat for like people who are doing? Because I have two different ways that they can like get the information, so they don't have to like figure it out and fill out anything. It's a handout that gives you all the like the top 10 thyroid tests. So I can put that in the link for people to get.
We're going to put up your information also.
Okay, perfect. But so you want to ask, first of all, you want to ask and make sure that you get a full thyroid, what we talked about, total T3, total T4, T4, like the entire parameters, like all 9, because there's 22 or more different kinds of thyroid imbalances. Western medicine only recognizes 4 out of the 22, right? And if your doctor won't run them, because a lot of times some of these parameters can't be run if you don't go to see an endocrinologist, right? Because they have their safeguards, right? So the safeguard is, if we test you and you're normal, then we're not going to send you to a specialist, or insurance won't allow you to go to a specialist, right? So then you never really learn, you never really know, or you got to come to somebody like me, because we're the kind of people who are going to test everything, and we're going to use optimal ranges, and that's how we know whether you're out of balance. Because the Western medicine system is not designed to treat cause necessarily. They're looking for a disease. They're trying to diagnose you so that they can give you their form of treatment, which might be drugs or surgery, right? They're not looking. I'm looking for wellness. I'm trying to say, if you come to me, I don't care about all those diseases. I want to make sure you are optimal and feel. So I'm going to test all those inflammatory markers. I'm going to test the thyroid. I'm going to test all of those things simply by having the conversation with you, right? So that's how you do it. You have to like when I said, you got to take your health into your own hands. Like that's really what you have to do.
Advocate for yourself.
You cannot depend on Western medicine because their system right now is kind of broken, right? Which is one of the reasons why they let us in. Right? They're like naturopathic doctors and holistic doctors and all y'all. Y'all trying to get people out of our system. We trying to keep people in the system.
Honey, they side-eyed me when I said I was taking an herbal supplement.
Oh my
And
God.
they were like, what are you taking? Well, we don't really know because, I mean, research hasn't been done. I was like, okay, but I'm going to keep taking it. Look, I'm like, but I'm going to keep taking this. I'm going to keep taking this.
Not the truth. The studies are there. Studies are there. They just don't know, right? They don't pay attention.
They don't want to know.
That's the catch-all phrase for we didn't learn that, right? So in naturopathic medicine, we have to learn Western medicine and natural medicine. And because I did acupuncture and Chinese medicine, I learned Eastern medicine too. So we get to put all that stuff together and support people. Yeah. So.
Yes, that's awesome. So so we definitely. So you said request the total T3 and T4 test.
Total T3, total T4. Free T3 and free T4. Free FRE. TSH. Okay. And then the antibodies. So TPO and TG. And TG is thyroglobulin. So it's anti-thyroglobulin and anti-TPO, which is thyroid peroxidase. Right.
Okay, so I have TSH, TPO, and what's the other one?
Anti-TPO.
Anti-TG,
which is thyroglobulin.
Anti-TPO.
And if you really want to know, reverse T3. Reverse T3 is also a really good option because that tells what's happening with your metabolism. Like, so say you're hypo and you're gaining a lot of weight. That's what happened to me when I went through menopause, because I had to go through surgical menopause, right? Which meant I had a hysterectomy, I had a partial hysterectomy, and my body was like, heck, like crazy, like this ain't happening. What am I doing? What's happening here? And I just went all, what broke loose. And within 3 to 4 months, I'd gained 50 pounds when I was a twig all my life, right? You know what I mean? Changes, the whole hair texture changed, everything changed. Like I went crazy. Like people are like, who are you? Right? Like I didn't even know who I was, right? Same thing. And most people will attribute that to menopause. So they'll say, oh, it was because your estrogen or your progesterone was low, right? But if I had not done a full hormone panel and looked at all my hormones and looked at all of those thyroid hormones, looked at my cortisol as well, right? Which I knew my stress was crazy. My stress is always is always my Achilles. I mean, I'm a go getter, push, drive, don't stop until it's done kind of person, right? So most people will contribute. They'll think they're perimenopausal or they're menopausal, and they won't look at thyroid, right? And a lot of that goes awry during those times, right? So you just want to, make sure that, I always tell people, make sure you just test as many things as possible, because you just never know where your Achilles heel is. You never know where your imbalance is.
Everybody is different.
Right.
Everybody is different, and everybody is different.
That's right. Exactly.
Wow. So what foods would you say, what are foods that can help you to avoid inflammation? Because, certain things that we like in this life. Yes. But what are foods that we should really ingest more to help balance us out?
So I want to start with the ones we should remove first.
Okay. Potato chips. Lord. Jesus. That's a curse word. Pudding. No soda. No.
Only because we want to try, because like they say, you can't outwork an unhealthy diet, right? Like some people want to stay in the gym 24 hours a day, but if they just spent most of their time controlling their diet, then they wouldn't have to do all that work, right? Um, so one of the problems, especially since we're talking about autoimmune disease, I want to just make sure that we know what foods promote autoimmune, right?
Potato salad at the family reunion. Them wings that way, them lemon pepper wings. Go ahead, Dr. Lewis. Go ahead.
Okay, first,
everything that tastes delicious. I make you go. Everything that make you go.
That's the problem. Most people think healthy food is nasty, and it's not.
It's not. I've been juicing all week. It's not. It's really not.
I know it's not. But but I'm telling you, what you're saying is what people are thinking. That's what they're thinking. They're like, oh Lord, I'm gonna have to eat twigs, and my food is like dirt. You know what I'm saying? Like if I eat healthy, I can never have like so I just want to address that first because everything is a transition, right? Like everything is a transition. If we're not willing to change, we can't heal. Right? Evolution is just that, change, and we gotta embrace change. Recognize that the things that we learned, and I'm gonna go there. I'm getting ready to go all the way over the edge because I get in trouble. Most of us were taught to eat the slave diet.
Say that again.
Most of us were taught to eat the slave diet,
especially at Thanksgiving.
Especially, right? So here's the thing. We have to learn to eat to live, not live to eat. We have to recognize
Elijah Muhammad.
That's it.
I got the book.
So food is specifically designed to keep us healthy and give us the minerals, the nutrients, the protein, the carbs, the fat, like all the things that our body needs to work efficiently. Right? We've been taught everything we eat has to taste sweet, has to taste great, or we don't eat it. So we're trained even from children, like, oh, I don't eat vegetables, or I don't like vegetables. And I feel you, because back when I was growing up, vegetables were like, that was where people started to eat frozen vegetables, that what is that, Green Giant, stuff in the and and because we were shifting into a society where everything was instant, right, where it was convenient. We couldn't go out and just pick the string beans from the garden and cook them, right? But so I feel you. If you grew up on frozen vegetables or vegetables that were mushed up and cooked so that you didn't even recognize what they were anymore, I wouldn't like them either, right? So the key is to understand how powerful food is. It can be your medicine or it can be your poison. And for most people, it's the poison. Okay. So we want to pull out the things that are going to have the most negative effect. And even if you just start with one thing, like don't try and change everything, just one thing, then you can start to heal your body using food. Okay. So the first one is wheat. We got it. It's got to go. It's got to go. Like for autoimmune disease, there's a concept called molecular mimicry, meaning the genetic expression of wheat, of the peptides in wheat, thinks and the genetic expression of the thyroid is like very, very similar. So similar that the antibodies that your body is producing, because it doesn't like wheat, because wheat is basically a foreign substance in our body, right? The body, if you produce these antibodies that are like Pac-Man going through the body trying to kill stuff, it says, oh, well, the thyroid looks really, really, it looks very similar to that wheat peptide that we can eat. So instead, of searching for wheat, it'll then attack the thyroid. That's called
Mhm.
molecular mimicry. You can Google it, right?
Mhm.
And so the less wheat you eat, the less likely you're to produce all these antibodies, i.e., then the less those antibodies are going to attack your thyroid. So you have to pull off of things, those things that are going to have the most significant challenge, right? And then your body will have a chance to do its natural duty, which is healing, right? It naturally will heal. We don't have to tell it to heal. It's going to do it. That's what we do, right? So the wheat substitutes. Now a lot of people will say gluten free. Like I'm gluten free. What's gluten free? Like most people, most people still are sensitive to wheat, to the other components of wheat, right? Wheat
Mhm.
has like 10 or 15 different constituents and different
Oh,
components,
wow.
right?
Wow.
So gluten is the only one that most people have pulled off of, so they still eat, a lot of like they like try to pull the gluten out or so forth and
Mhm.
so on out of the particular
Mhm.
food. No, it's wheat. It ain't gluten. Just
Gotcha.
to say, right?
So no biscuits. I like rye bread.
But yeah,
With
rye,
or without seeds.
no gluten. Rye is good, right?
Okay.
If you got to eat pasta and that kind of stuff, you can eat brown rice pasta. Like I'm telling you now, like I pulled off of wheat in like 1991. The
Mm.
first time I tried, I was trying the blood type diet. That
Mm-hmm.
eat right for
For your blood type.
your type, right?
You breaking down all the stuff. I want to go pull this book up. Hold on.
Uh-huh. How to eat to live.
That's
Yeah.
right. And then I
Yeah.
have that one, Eat Right for Your Blood Type,
Right.
the,
Yep. Yep.
Cooking with Mother Nature, Dick
Yep.
Gregory. There's so
Yes.
many awesome books. Yes.
Yes. And
Mhm.
so when we pull out the foods that are more like act like poisons in our body, then that gives us an opportunity. The second one is dairy. And I know most people are like, you can ready to take away my ice cream and my milkshakes. What? Right? Right.
For real.
But I'm also here to tell you that genetically, ancestrally, most people didn't have cows in their backyard. They just
Mm.
didn't. They might have had goats,
Mm.
right? But they didn't have cows. I
Mhm.
used to I remember one time I asked my dad, like, why do I like buffalo meat so good? Like, why do I like bison? Because I don't like beef that much. But bison,
Mhm.
oh my God, I love it. And I'm an O blood type, so
Mhm.
I'm a pegan. I still eat meat, but I don't eat, dairy stuff, right? So he was like, because your ancestors hunted it. And I was like, well, don't that make sense? Right? I was like, duh. Did they hunt cows? No, right? So the key, and I have to say, like I went to a natural products expo. There's a natural products expo where they just have a gazillion food
Mhm.
stuff. And there was one company that made for a time, they were making water buffalo yogurt.
Mm.
They were making yogurt out of water buffalo milk, and
Oh, wow.
it was so yummy. It was like
Wow.
full bodied and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, the whole the whole point, because girl, don't talk. We gotta have a
About
whole other
food.
food because I am a foodie. Okay,
Yes. Okay.
love
Yes.
food, right? I
Yes.
love when it's cooked well. I love when the spices and the tastes. And that's the thing. It's like most people will think, well, she's been healthy and she eats kind of healthy all this time. Like her food must be nasty. Like I'm not gonna eat at her house, right? And then
Mhm.
I cook
Not.
and I give them their food, and they're like, "What?" Like I go to the barbecue, and I'm like, I know I'm not gonna be able to eat half that stuff, so let me bring some of my own
Right.
stuff, and then
Right.
my stuff goes. And next thing you know,
Faster.
I'm looking for what I could eat. No, my stuff is gone. Right?
Yes.
Who
Yes.
made who made the collard greens? It's kale.
Mhm.
How'd you cook the collard greens? It's raw. Who made the collard greens? It's kale. And who cooked the collard greens? It's raw, right? Like, right,
Faster, right?
right. It will not
You just
compute.
knew how to rub them right.
Right, right. It will not compute, right? And I was like, so when you cook the food in a way that honors like what it's there for, right? We don't have to
Mhm.
cook our food to death, right? We
Mhm.
could quick saute stuff, like all those things. And then if you just eat more vegetables, like what's that? If there's a saying, eat less, mostly vegetables, or something like that. Eat less, mostly veg. I can't remember the phrase because I can't have remember what other people's quotes because
Curvy Queen said next time she comes home, because she's from Jersey, she said she coming to your house.
That's right. That's right, girl. Let me tell you, I started hosting Thanksgiving dinner when I was 25. When I was 25, right? And the first time I did it, they didn't know they were eating gluten free and dairy free. I just made the macaroni and cheese, and they ate it, and they were like, "This is good," right?" I used organic turkey, and I had organic collard greens, and they were like, you put your foot in this?" Because the foods have more minerals and nutrients. They just taste like they're supposed to. Yep. So eat more vegetables, y'all. Just eat a vegetable for breakfast. I always say eat a vegetable. You got to have 5 servings. If you're not eating at least some during breakfast, which i.e. you can put in a green drink or a smoothie or something like that, right? If you're not eating it in breakfast, you're probably not eating enough vegetables.
Yeah, and even with the smoothies, because you talked about dairy, like a lot of times they put the milk in smoothies. Like I've never really been a big dairy person. So what I've gotten into just through research is I started using more coconut water instead of regular water.
Yes.
And then reading that, believe it or not, everybody, and this is not that show, but it is that show. Yes. That your fruits actually hydrate you more than water.
Yes.
So I didn't know that if you yawn a lot, you dehydrated. My Jamaican girlfriend Joan told me that. She said, you dehydrated. I said, what, girl? I don't know. I'm just tired. I'm not bored. She said, no. And I looked it up and I said, oh my God.
Yep.
Dehydration. So cucumber, celery. I started doing all of those things. Yes. Dehydrate you quick. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries.
And that's the beauty of the food. That's one of the things. It's like we don't recognize that we're mostly water, and a lot of those vegetables and fruits are mostly water, right? And so that's one of the reasons why most people are dehydrated. Most people have a hard time kind of balancing their quote unquote calorie count, right? Because they're eating they just haven't been taught how to eat, right? And once they start eating like that and they recognize how good it tastes, like I can hand somebody a green drink and the first thing they'll look at is like, oh Lord, I'm gonna have to suck this thing down. Like, you can feel the energy. You can just feel it all over. They're like, oh, she gonna make me do this, right? Kind of thing. And I was like, listen, just taste it. Just taste it. And they're like, this is good, right? Like, because we've been patterned, we've been taught, the mindset, right? That's a whole nother right? The mindset has been taught that, if it doesn't taste a certain way or look a certain way, that we're not supposed to eat it, right? And our ancestors knew more about gardening and vegetables and all that kind of stuff. Like, they couldn't afford to they wouldn't eat no 12-ounce porterhouse steaks, right? Even if they made the beans, they put a little piece of meat in it, right? They didn't have a whole lot of meat, right? So they were dang near, they were dang near what we call we call them pegans now. Paleo is paleo and vegan because they don't eat dairy, and
that's what I must be. Yeah, well, seafood, more so seafood.
Yeah.
I mean, you know who cooked the chicken?
Girl, I know.
I might.
I know.
Dr. Lisa Lewis.
Chicken, you got to do organic.
Yes.
You got to do all your meat. You got to do free range, grass fed. Wild is the best option, because so if you're going to eat meat, it's got to be clean, because what they're doing to our food is a sin. Okay, so you got to be very mindful of what you're eating. So yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa Lewis. Please tell everybody, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you saying yes to my invitation. It's so great to see you. And how can everyone get in contact with you for consultations, visits, treatments?
Yeah. So so just so everyone knows, I am mostly virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ain't
the
no excuse. That's what she said. Let me translate. Ain't no excuse. You can get it in the mail, honey. You can get it in the mail. If you got intranet, we fee. You can get to Dr. Lisa Lewis. All right. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Continue.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The pandemic helped people see that they didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be in front of somebody to be
Yes.
able to do their healing, right? So I'm mostly virtual. So again, I don't want you to let proximity and geography stop you from doing the work. How I normally start work with people is I have I offer like a complimentary 15-minute consult so I can see where you are, make sure you're ready to do it, and so forth and so on. And directly on my website, which is drlisalewis.com, on every page, there is a button on the bottom of the page that says free consultation or complimentary discovery session or something like that. So you can get to that very easily. I also do a ton of challenges and trainings and things of that nature. And I am running a monthly challenge called the Holistic Bounce Back, where I'm teaching people how to understand how to read their labs and understand, like, so the questions about the normal labs and the ranges and all that kind of stuff. And so we do a lot of that. So if you go to holisticbounceback.com, you'll be able to see. I have also if you go to holisticbounceback.com/guide, there's a free guide there that gives you my 5-step process for how to move your body through healing, understanding how to read your labs and all that kind of stuff. So I got a bunch of free support teaching you before you jump into my world, because it's really important for you to learn how to do this yourself, right? So if you go to Holistic Bounce Back and you go / you can put / guide behind there. That's great. Holistic Bounce Back is going to take you directly to the challenge. And so I got a bazillion resources. So I think we can put some of those additional links, as well as I have a thyroid resource that will give you the complete guide to like all your thyroid labs, so that you can just print that off and write that and give it to your give it to your doctor and say, here, run these, right? So there's a bunch of that. So I'll give you those resources. I'll email you and you can put them
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Everyone is so excited. I'm so grateful that people are receiving what I'm giving, and that I have people like you in my community, my village, to tap into, and they can get the information. There's really no excuses, just when the time is right, in divine time and order. So thank you, Dr. Lisa Lewis, for being on. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for watching. Thank you, everyone that's watching live. Thank you to everyone that's going to watch later. I appreciate you. Thank you to my super producer, Celeste from Jersey, for producing for me so I can focus on our guest. And next week, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're going to have my great friend, Evelyn Clark, on, who is a 2-time breast cancer survivor and a lung cancer survivor. She's going to come on and share her story, her journey, and tips with us. Thank you all so much for watching. Please share with your friends and family. If you're interested in booking Queen Aishah to tell you a funny story or anything else, just let me know. The information is there. If you want to support the show, the information is there. Peace and blessings. Have an amazing first Saturday of fall in 2022. We outside, but don't forget that mask. Peace and blessings.